Hey everyone, and welcome back. I am absolutely thrilled to be here on behalf of Forge College. Now, if you survived our previous lesson, integrating tools into an audit workflow, well, you probably still have a few nightmares about diving into those completely chaotic code bases to fix audit flags, right? Well, today we're taking a massive step forward to prevent those nightmares from ever happening in the first place. We're shifting gears, moving away from single contract upgradability, and stepping into the beautiful, highly structured world of layered architecture and scalability patterns.
So, let's just kick things off with the question that keeps literally every Web3 developer up at night. How do we scale without completely breaking our storage? Let's be real for a second. We have all seen those massive, messy, monolithic smart contracts. They are terrifying. You make one tiny upgrade, you get one little storage collision, and boom, suddenly your users' balances are reading zero and your entire app is broken. Massive monoliths fail audits, they're practically impossible to maintain, and we desperately need a cleaner, safer way to scale our decentralized apps.
So here is our blueprint for today's explainer. 1. Monoliths to layers. 2. The 3-layer blueprint. 3. The gas trade-off. 4. AI-assisted scaffolding. And 5. Validating boundaries. Let's just jump right in.
All right, Section 1, Monoliths to Layers. It is officially time to say our goodbyes to those fragile, easily breakable monolithic contracts, where every single thing is just stuffed into one giant file.
The solution here is actually surprisingly simple. A layer is really just a set of contracts grouped by their specific concern, with incredibly strict boundaries between them. Think of your smart contract architecture kind of like a high-end restaurant. You've got the pantry, where all the ingredients are kept, right? That's your storage. Then you have the kitchen, where the chefs prepare the food. That's your logic. And finally, you have the waiter, who actually interacts with the customers. That's your facade. Now, if the waiter starts trying to cook the food, or if the chef starts dragging raw ingredients out to the dining table, you have an absolute disaster on your hands. We need to keep these roles strictly separated so nobody steps on anyone else's toes.
Which brings us right to Section 2, the 3-layer blueprint. Let's unroll these blueprints and look at the exact architecture that's going to keep our smart contracts clean, modular, and infinitely scalable.
Okay, so let's map that restaurant analogy directly into technical terms. We essentially have 3 distinct layers. First is the store. This is our strict pantry. Its one and only responsibility is state ownership, literally just holding the data. And to optimize here, we pack our variables really tightly. Next up, we have the logic layer. This is our chef. It executes all the complex domain operations. To save effort and gas here, we optimize by batching operations together. And finally, the facade. This is our front-of-house waiter, managing access control and the public API. It intercepts user requests. We can actually optimize this layer by short-circuiting reads. That basically means if a request is invalid, the facade rejects it immediately before it even bothers waking up the chef or opening the pantry.
But of course, we're building on Ethereum, right? There is always a catch. So let's move to Section 3, the gas trade-off. This is the elephant in the room, and we absolutely have to address it.
Here's the deal. When we take one giant contract and chop it up into 3 separate layers, store, logic, and facade, we are suddenly making external calls across different contracts just to get a single job done. And mathematically speaking, external calls just cost more gas than simple internal jumps or a basic delegate call. But you have to look at the trade-off here. Sure, monolithic contracts are cheaper to run, but they carry a dangerously high risk of catastrophic storage collisions. On the flip side, a layered architecture costs a little more in gas overhead, but it buys you modularity, safety, and upgradability. Basically, we're investing a tiny bit of gas to buy ourselves safety and sanity, and trust me, it is almost always worth it.
Now I know what you're thinking. Building all this boilerplate structure from scratch sounds super tedious. And it is. That brings us to Section 4. AI-assisted scaffolding. We're going to use an AI assistant to write this base code for us. But I want you to think of this AI as a highly capable, yet painfully literal intern. If you aren't extremely precise with your instructions, it's going to make a total mess. For example, you have to explicitly spoon-feed your AI intern the exact target Solidity version you want, in our case, 0.8.20. If you just vaguely say, hey, write me a smart contract, it might use some outdated version, throw in deprecated features, and your compiler will immediately throw a tantrum. You have to be specific.
And actually, this is one of my absolute favorite prompts to use. Limit each contract to no more than 6 public methods and 3 storage variables. Why do we do that? Because AIs absolutely love to write bloated, complicated code just to try and show off. By forcing these strict constraints, you keep the code minimal, you enforce that separation of concerns we just talked about, and crucially, you shrink your overall attack surface.
So here is the strict three-step cycle for managing your AI intern. Step 1. Give it your hyper-specific starter prompt to generate the scaffold. Step 2. Compile the code yourself and manually inspect those interfaces. Never ever trust the AI blindly. And Step 3. Iterate. Now this part is vital. When you need a change, ask the AI for diffs only, meaning just show me the lines of code that changed in a single file. Do not let it rewrite your entire architecture just to fix a missing semicolon. Which leads us perfectly into our fifth and final section, validating boundaries. The intern has handed in its homework, and now it's time for us to actually grade it. I want you to run every single AI-generated scaffold through this exact checklist. First, interface correctness. Do the function signatures actually match up? Second, storage ownership. This is a massive one. If you look at the logic contract and you see it trying to declare persistent state variables, well, the AI messed up. Logic is the chef. It doesn't own the pantry. You have to correct that immediately. Third, gas awareness tests. Compare the cost of your layered calls against a simple baseline. And fourth, edge case handling. Are your reentrancy guards properly in place wherever external calls happen?
Listen, if you take only one thing away from this entire explainer, let it be this golden rule. Explicit interfaces prevent accidental storage coupling. By using strict, typed interfaces between your store, your logic, and your facade, you completely eliminate the risk of one layer accidentally corrupting the data of another. Explicit interfaces are literally the ultimate currency of safe, scalable, smart contract composition.
So, you've successfully separated your concerns and you've graded your AI's homework. But building the layers is really only half the battle. If an explicit interface is the currency of a safe contract, well, gas is the tax you pay to run it. So the question is, are you willing to pay a premium? Or are your new layers ready for some ruthless memory optimization? We are going to squash those cross-layer gas costs in our very next lesson, Memory Management and Gas Efficiency. Until then, I want to say a huge thank you for learning with us. This explainer was brought to you by Forge College. If you want to master these Web3 patterns and seriously level up your engineering skills, be sure to visit forge.college to learn more. Keep building, keep your layers clean, and I will see you in the next one.